possibly the most important part of this whole job is you've either got to have a downhill slope in your driveway or a bungee cord to hold the door open. So okay, we have the little bezel or escutcheon or surround or whatever you want to call it for the door handle here, and it's just got one screw, so it looks like it's going to be an easy thing to slide out, but it has a little hook on the back that hooks inside here. So you got to undo that, then you got to jiggle it around. You undo the screw and then jiggle it around. If you're like impatient like me, you just use brute force and break it off, and then you got to pay $12 for another one of these. But you know, I think it'll still work fine, won't it? It'll be good. It'll be good. No worries. Hello to all of you home handymen who are working on your aging pickup trucks and replacing parts. This is a Toyota Tundra SR5 2000 model. I'm replacing the motor on the window winder, and the only problem I had with this, now there are other videos on this so you can catch them and see what to do. Yeah, you know, you clamp the thing in place before you pop the motor off because it's spring loaded on the other side here, and so you want to clamp this here in place when you take the motor off and replace it. I had a problem with this motor. I got it through Amazon, you know, going for the cheapest thing I could find, and what I found was right down here was the shape of it wouldn't allow it to fit right down into the sort of rebate there. And so the holes where the bolts come through from the other side wouldn't line up. So I got a Dremel and just took a corner off there. There's quite a bit has to come off, but it worked. And now this is where it was sitting down, and it was just, there was a big corner on here. I had to take it off because it would come down and hit there. Okay, so that's one problem solved. I figured that while I was doing that, I may as well do the door actuator because it stopped working about a year or so ago. And there are also videos on how to do this. There are a couple of very good ones. Some very nice guys have shown us how to do it. So you do kind of have to take the door handle off. Well, maybe not, but I did. This thing here was quite hard to get out of the door handle. So I pull the door handle out of here. That rod goes in here. And one of those clips is really easy to get off. This little one just swivels and the thing pops out. This one, it swivels up to disengage the rod. And then, there's a guy who does already show this, but I'll just reiterate. So what we're looking at is we're looking at this little rod here is coming through this plastic piece here into this little housing, and then this is swiveling over and clipping onto it. So I did what he did in his video. It's quite hard to get out of there. So you put your needle nose pliers in here, put them against the end of the tip of the rod, and then just squeeze and give it a good squeeze, and it'll pop right out. So that was a great tip. So thanks, dude. Now, being a Toyota Tundra 2000, this is something I came across that I didn't see in other vehicles. This is a channel that holds the this rubber thing sort of extends all the way down in here, and it's in here still, and it's, you know, flopping around. But this slides up in there, and this bolt here, this one here, comes out here, and then the bottom of this is getting bolted in on the inside down here. So we've got two bolts holding this rail in, and this door assembly won't come out unless you pop them out as well. So there's a new trick for an old dog. And let's hope the new actuator fits. And this is pretty self-explanatory, getting all this stuff off, you know. There is a clip that goes in here that holds this that holds this in place, and there I broke it when it came off, so hopefully I'll just be able to put a bolt through and bolt that into place once it's back in. But I'm now going to put my phone down and have a crack at replacing the actuator, which is this piece here. And I got one, again, the cheapest I could find on Amazon, and it looks like it's the right part, so let's have a crack at that. Before I did any of this, of course, I checked that it wasn't simply a connection. And in fact, I pulled this window mechanism out about 3 months ago and lubed it, and it worked fine, and then just died again. So I figured, okay, time for a new motor. I'm sick of taking this thing in and out. Okay, let's see if we can assemble this stuff. So this unplugged pretty easily out of here once I had it all out. But you can see that it's held in with a high-tech zip tie here, so you'll have to have a zip tie or two lying around just to reassemble this. But otherwise it looks like it's just held in with a couple of screws. It's a little bit tricky here because you can see that there's this cable that just comes through, and it's just a little crimp in the cable, so it goes through the little hole and hooks in. So we've got to carefully take that out so that doesn't get damaged. It's part of this cable that goes up into the door switch mechanism, the door lock. So want to be gentle with that. These screws that I'm using these are the old screws that I took out. This is the new unit, and these are self-tappers, so they bite into the plastic of this actuator here. So of course just make sure you don't over tighten them or you'll strip out that thread. So I've got the zip tie there holding the cable in place. It's all back together, and I just connected it up before I reinstall it just to make sure it's working, and indeed it is. Yippee, so good. That's going to be working at least if I can get the rest of it back together. So the door mechanism seems to be going back in okay. Just remember to pull, if you've got this model, pull this rubber window channel out of the way, because once the door actuator and everything's back in, we're going to slide this back into the metal housing, and then that'll get bolted in place. But that goes in after the door mechanism. If you put the door mechanism back without this, you'll be really annoyed later because you're going to have to pull it out again. So this is the clip that I broke pulling it out. You know, it presses into there, and it goes through here. So it's a self-tapping screw goes in there to hold that in place. So I'm just going to reuse the clip here itself. The back's broken off it. So I'm just going to put a bolt through and make sure it's a pretty small bolt so it doesn't interfere with the window mechanism or anything. But that'll be fine. Also, a little part of the clip broke off on the cable, on the rod that's going to the door handle. But I don't think it's going to interfere with the operation. I'm going to take a gamble and put it back together. I'll sure be pissed off later if I have to pull the whole thing apart to replace that clip. But at least I know what's happening, and once it's demystified, you know, it's half the battle. Okay, got the mechanism, window winding mechanism in, and it's working fine. I haven't put the glass back in yet. But you can see I enlarged this hole just because I didn't want to spend an hour fiddling around with the little hole that was there. You got to have that. There's a bolt goes in through here, and it's got to be perfectly lined up. So, okay, so much to my relief, everything seems to be working pretty well. I'm about to put the door panel back on. So there's a bit of a trick to this. There's a lip here along the top edge of the door panel, and that has to sit up and over top of this. So you kind of got to lift the door panel up and slot it over top of this, and then press the clips into place around the bottom edge. First time I did this, I just sort of tried to clip the door panel on, and then nothing worked along the top edge. So do it in that order and you should be fine. Just giving it a final check here before I put the final pieces back together, and there's kind of something interesting going on here. I press down to widen the window down. Oopsie daisy, I lift it up, and the window goes down. Well, I don't think I'm going to worry about that. I think that's just the way it's going to be. It's called personality of the truck. Yeah, look at that. Good as new. Still works. No worries. Rather pleasant surprise that all I've got left over in my parts bin is one screw, which I know where that came from. I broke the clip, so I put a bolt in there, and a couple of broken bits of plastic. Back in the day, I'd have about half a dozen bits and pieces left over that I never knew where they came from. So this is a success, even if the window goes the wrong way. And that's sort of an indication that Amazon's recommendations, even though they said it was good for the vehicle, that window motor, I had to Dremel it to get it to fit, and then the polarity was wired the wrong way. So all that is left to do now is get some alcohol or acetone or something to get this crud off here, and the green beast is ready to rumble for another day. Thanks for watching. Hope your repair goes well. As a final thought, if you do this right and you get the right brand of duct tape, you get all sorts of special effects on your vehicle once you take it off. I've tried acetone, I've tried Windex, I've tried soap suds, I've tried mineral spirits. It cleaned all the paint off, and I can't get this crap off my window. It just doesn't want to quit. Anyway, I guess it works.